Hey guys, it's your girl Marielle. Welcome back to my channel, Friday Night Light Reviews, where we do reactions and reviews to TV shows, movies, and other digital content. So you already know what I'm going to ask you guys, so won't you go ahead and hit that like, comment, and subscribe button. Don't forget to share this video with your friends and family. Help us reach that 400 subscriber count. I know we can do it. We're more than halfway there, guys. You also can follow me on my other digital platforms, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Those links will be put down in the description bar below. To all of my subbies, welcome back. To everybody who comes and watch the content, since you're already here, you might as well go ahead and hit that subscribe button. So as always, let's just jump right into it. We're going to be talking about HBO Max In the Heights, musical/movie, directed by John Chu, who is known for Crazy Rich Asians. If you've seen that movie, you can already know what you're going to expect in this movie, because the colors, the costumes, the vibrancy, the authenticity that he did in that movie, I just know it's going to be just as great in this one. The music and the screenplay is done by Lin-Manuel Miranda, who we all know from the Tony Award winning play Hamilton. So, you know what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about the plot of the movie, what we like, what we didn't like, our overall reaction, and where this movie falls within the 5-star category. So, let's just talk about the plot. So, this movie, it's based in Washington Heights, where we watch stories of past and present and future of this tight-knit community, all chasing and striving to fulfill their dreams, mainly focusing on one character who becomes the glue of this community, played by Anthony Ramos. The character's name is Usnavi. So we have a couple of great cast members. We have Anthony Ramos, who was also in Hamilton. We have Lin-Manuel Miranda, who plays the icy guy. Dasha Polanco, who's known for Orange is the New Black. Jimmy Smits, come on. We know him. And we have Mark Anthony in this movie, which was such a great thing to see. So the movie starts off with Anthony Ramos in past tense, where he's telling the story of this community in Washington Heights and what it meant to him and what it meant to the people who were in this community. So we see him as a bodega owner. We see a beauty salon owner, a dispatcher company owner, which, if you guys don't know, is pretty much a cab company who sends out, the taxis and anything like that in this area. And we also have Vanessa, who plays Jimmy Smith's daughter, who is in Stanford, who comes back home not feeling her best. And then we have Sunny, who is Anthony Ramos' cousin in this movie, who is striving to be the best person he can be while pulling up his community as he grows older. So those are the cast, and I'm telling you guys, the cast was done perfectly. I don't know where I did see some new faces that I've never seen before, but we're definitely going to be seeing them in more things more often, because they did such an amazing job filming this movie. So the musical did give me a little bit of an upbeat Rent. Don't come for me, because I love musicals. So I know what I'm talking about. It definitely, because it starts off with dialogue and it leads right into music. And I love that. So right out the gate, anyone who grew up in New York and you've watched this movie, guys, or if you haven't, I recommend you go watching it, because this is exactly the way the neighborhoods were. And the community feeling is everything, especially when you grow up in such this tight-knit community, whether it's in Washington Heights, Brooklyn, Bronx. For me, it was Jamaica, Queens, and it was very authentic. The music was awesome. You can definitely tell this is a Lin-Manuel Miranda production. He has this signature of the way he arranges his music, how the characters sing, how the notes are done. And it's not a bad thing. I think it's a great thing, because it is his signature, so you'll always know who it is. And the way everyone sang beautifully, but you can definitely tell it was arranged by him, because that's just his signature. But I think it's amazing. each story of each character, they did bleed into one another. And that's not a negative for me. I definitely believe it's a positive, because even though these stories bled in with each other, they all stood out on their own. So they did have their own storyline, but it bled into it. And we get to see anyone who grew up in a neighborhood like this. We all know there's someone who is at the top of the hierarchy, which is the character named Claudia. She's like the neighborhood grandma. She has known each of these characters since they were babies, and she's watched them grow up, help them out, whether it was with money, food, shelter, sanctuary, all of it. So her character was so beloved in this movie, and it just brought me back to home. I will say, John Chu, I'm sorry if I'm saying his name wrong. I didn't expect anything less from him because of Crazy Rich Asians. He has the authentic aesthetics of what communities like in Washington Heights look like, from the streets, from the placement of the street lights, the bodega, the cleaners, the dispatch company, the train station, the subway, even the bus stops. It's like, yo, this is definitely what New York communities in the hood look like. And whether you want to call it a hood or not, a hood to us is community, and he did amazing. Him and Lin-Manuel Miranda, they did amazing within this movie, and with the costumes, the way the inside the bodega looks like, what people order, what the inside of the beauty salon, where everybody gossips and talks about each other, but also comes together as a family to make sure each one of them are fulfilling their dreams. It was done so great. It was an emotional musical. Let me stop. It is a musical. It was a very emotional movie. I mean, just from watching dreams come true, watching dreams deferred, new dreams happen, death, epiphanies. It was just super emotional, and it was done so great. I mean, and that's what you want in a movie, right? You want a movie like this to provoke emotions, so you know they're doing their job. That's how you know they're doing their job. There are so many scenes to pick from in this movie that were my favorite, but I'm just gonna touch on a couple. And before I do that, let's just run into our negative. And don't come for me, because I'm sticking to what I say. The negative in this movie, I would say, is if you have Mark Anthony in this movie, and if you don't know who Mark Anthony is, you're living under a rug or living under a rock. He's one of my favorite singers. The fact that he was in a musical and he didn't sing broke my heart. That's my negative, and that's all I'm going to say about that. So let's just go back to a couple of scenes that I picked out that stood out to me. So like I said, Anthony Ramos is telling a story in past tense. And the movie is based on the beginning of the summer, and it's one of the hottest summers. And there's a blackout that happens that lasts for 3 days in the midst of everybody trying to do what they needed to do. So let me just push it out a little further. So we have Benny and Vanessa. They were high school sweethearts. When she went to Stanford, they broke up. Nina's back, and she kind of feels like her dream is deferred because she doesn't feel a sense of home when she's in Stanford, and mainly because she was racially profiled her first semester there. And she just was so upset that she didn't stand her ground, and she felt like that just wasn't her place where she needed to be. She needed to be home and know her people and listen to her block, as she always said in the movie. And her father, Kevin, who's played by Jimmy Smits, doesn't see it that way. He sees like, okay, you're Boricua, you're going to change the world. Me and your mom did great things, but you're going to change the world. So I don't care if I gotta sell the dispatch to the cleaners guy and make sure that you keep going to Stanford. Then we have Sonny, whose dream is just to be a great man and to make sure that he doesn't forget his community. But in the midst of protesting and making sure that immigrants and people of color get their rights, he finds out I'm undocumented, so that means I can't get my license. And that means I can't go to college, because if I don't have the money to pay for it, I can't get financial aid, I can't get loans and things of that nature. So that's kind of like a dream broken, right? And then we have Vanessa, who wants to leave Washington Heights and live uptown so she could be a great fashion designer. And then we come down to Snavi, who wants to pick up his father's mantle when they were in DR and have this beautiful place where people can just be themselves and get great things and eat great things and drink great things. So those of Anne, the salon owner, who's moving from Washington Heights and going up to, to make herself better, to bring in better, not better, but different clientele so she can grow her business. So that's definitely a dream happening. So let's get into these favorite scenes. The first one being when Claudia makes all this amazing food for Nina, because she's, she came home for the summer. And I mean, they had everything perfect, from tamales to rice and beans and chicken to pernil. I mean, your mouth will water watching that scene. That was an amazing scene. The second scene is the first day of the blackout, where they're all in a club and Usnavi and Vanessa's getting close. But because he's so shy, they bump heads and that's it. So you think that love is lost. But Nina and Benny get closer. So my third favorite scene, guys, is when we see the salon owner who's mad that nobody is saying goodbye to her now that she's going uptown. And this is where it brings me to kind of like a West Side Story. That scene where you see the community in that musical and everybody's coming together. It was pretty much that exact same scene, but done in present day time. And it was different cultures: Puerto Rican, Dominican, Cuban, Mexican, and they all had their little parts where they did their cultural dances, but then they came together and they did it together, and it was so in sync. I love this scene. Love that scene. So there's a lot of scenes in this movie that are just too beautiful to break down. The video would go on and on and on because I could talk about it all day. So let's just get into, was this movie predictable? Was the musical predictable? No. Because I can tell you this, when Anthony Ramos was talking to the kids and you think he's in DR, we come to find out something amazing happened in between him telling the story in past tense until things happening in present, where we see Vanessa and him get together and she brings his home to him just to let him know, like, even though I know you're missing home, this is where you need it. This is where you're going to invoke change, not only in myself, because I've changed and become a better person because of you, but because of Claudia, because of Sunny. You can't leave because you are a pillar in this community. And then we find out that Claudia, this is where we're talking about the death, she passes away in her sleep, and the community comes together, and it was such a beautiful visual for her with all these candles, and they're singing her mantra. Now, mind you, I did skip ahead a little bit. Before she passes away, there's this amazing scene where they brought in Cuba, where she was from, and Washington Heights together, where you see the women, how you would see them in Cuba with the beautiful dresses on, and you could tell that they're maids and everything like that. So they come together in that scene, and it was done great. And right at the end of that scene, we see the colorful hallway, and then we see her, she could walk up to, into the light out of the train station. And this is where you can tell, is she going to stay on the earthly plane, or is she ascending into the spiritual? And she goes up. And, that's when we find out, she passed on. And the scene was beautiful, and it was so emotional. It was just great. Along with Anthony Ramos scene when he was just so happy that they saw what he thought home was within his eyes. And Claudia left him his last saving grace, and she left him this winning lottery ticket, and he hired a lawyer for Sonny so he can become an American citizen. And as soon as you thought he was going to leave, he did it. And this is where I love the end, because it wasn't predictable. The scene just opens and you realize he's not in DR. He's not on a beach. It's no sand. He's in his store. And that's how much passion is invoked about how he feels about his community and his community in DR, where we find out he's telling the story to his daughter and to her friends. And they go right back out into the community. They still got the fire hydrants going. You still got the icy guy and Mr. Softy and just kids playing in the community. And it's a beautiful thing. And everyone's getting along and everybody's rooting for each other. Even Vanessa, when we thought her dream would be deferred, with watching all of this, watching Usnavi, watching Sonny, watching Vanessa, she realizes, I have home with me in my heart, and I'm going to be the change that I want to see in the world. So I'm going to go back to Stanford and I'm going to do just that. And yes, is it a happy ending? Yes, it is. Happy endings come in all different types. It doesn't necessarily mean that a happy ending is a win for everybody, because yes, it's going to be hard for Sonny to become a American citizen. Yes, she's still going to deal with racial profiling, Nina and Stanford. Yes, Usnavi is going to realize he just has to wait to go back to DR. But it's still a win because the community still came together. Dreams were reimagined, and the musical was just amazing. If you guys haven't watched it yet, I do recommend you guys watching In the Heights. You will get something out of it, whether you grew up in the 5 boroughs of New York or you know what it's like to be in a neighborhood and have a matriarch and have those things that always remind you of who you are and why you are being and striving to be that person you want to be. So out of 5 stars, I'm giving it a 5. Lin-Manuel Miranda and John Chu did an amazing job. Definitely 5 stars. So you guys, we are at the end of the video. So don't forget to share the video with your friends and family. Hit that notification bell and subscribe so you know when I post up new content. And as always, stay safe and be courageous. And I will see you in the next one.